What is going on YouTube? Run and Gun Sports back here with another video. Today is our Chargers off-season review. Got a lot to talk about with the Chargers. Chargers had a struggling season, but not too bad of a season, and really think that their future is bright, extremely bright, and I think that they're going to be a very good team for years to come. And a lot of people may disagree with that, but that's why we're here to talk about them and tell you what they can do to become a very good team in the NFL. And I think they've got a good shot, especially with new quarterback Justin Herbert. He's a very talented player, once in a lifetime player. And as I said, I think that they got a bright future, especially under him. But they got some new coaching, and some of the coaching hire I may not have agreed with 100%, but I think the talent on that roster, and if the coaching is good enough, that I think that could work well. But with that being said, follow our social media pages at runandgun_sports on Instagram and at runandgunsports on TikTok. And we released weekly NFL news videos, weekly college football news videos, and obviously our off-season review for each NFL team. We're going to make it through all 32 teams right leading up till August, and around then we'll be done, and the football season 2021-2022 NFL season will be upon us, and it will be a great time. But with that, and we've also released AFC East, AFC North, and AFC South videos. We're wrapping up the AFC West with these next four videos being the Denver Broncos, Los Angeles Chargers, Las Vegas Raiders, and the Kansas City Chiefs. And then we will be moving to the NFC, and it will be a lot of fun to talk about. But with that being said, let's get right into the video, wasting no time. The Los Angeles Chargers in 2020 went 7-9, third place in the AFC West, just behind the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders went 8-8 last year. Really disappointing season for Las Vegas, and I think that was a very unfortunate year for them, and they didn't live up to the hype at all, and they were looking like a playoff team. They were one of the few teams to beat the Chiefs. Chargers were the other team, but they did have the Chiefs had all their backups in. It was a Week 17 game, so kind of an asterisk besides that game. No one really counts that towards their wins, really. But like I said, the Chargers had a good year, 7-9, and coming off of a really bad year and looking for a new quarterback. They got one, Justin Herbert, 2020 Rookie of the Year, and he had great stats. And with winning Rookie of the Year, he really did well. And I think that even though he didn't make the Pro Bowl, he still had a great year. And I think he could have made the Pro Bowl. I think it was close, but I think that he had a great year, and it's really promising for Chargers fans. And his stats were really impressive: 4,336 yards, 31 touchdowns, and his QBR 69.5, the lowest of his stats, ranked 13th in the NFL. Still on the front half of NFL quarterbacks, so it's pretty impressive considering he's just a rookie. And 4,336 yards is very impressive, and 31 touchdowns. The 4,300 yards was 6th in the NFL, 31 touchdowns, 10th in the NFL. So top tier stats from Justin Herbert, and he had a great year last year. But Anthony Lynn fired last year. In my opinion, this should have happened a while ago. I've never really been a fan of Anthony Lynn. Don't think he's a good coach. And the Chargers have one of the more stacked rosters that are struggling, and just a great team all around on offense and defensive side of the ball. Some real playmakers that some reason the puzzle can't fit together. And I don't see it being a type of issue with the players not getting along or anything like that. I truly do think that it's mostly just the coaching, and Anthony Lynn is just not the greatest move for that team, and I don't think that he really was the coach that Justin Herbert needed coming out of college. And I think that it was a good move for them to fire Anthony Lynn. They rehired new head coach Brandon Staley, former Rams defensive coordinator, coached in the NFL for only 4 years, had some college football experience at some smaller schools, but Barron went with the Bears for 2 years, and then the Broncos for a year, and then the Rams defensive coordinator for a year as well. So, he's got a nice resume, especially coming from the Los Angeles Rams. And, I think that the Rams obviously had the best defense in the NFL last year, and so. But I think the Chargers, the focus really, I don't know if there's one focus that's mainly whether it's the offense or the defense. I just think it's the offense and defense coming together and playing as one. And if they can do that, they're going to be a great team. Just looking at their roster, they have some star players: Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. They had Hunter Henry last year, but obviously was traded to the Patriots. Jared Cook, Corey Linsley, Brian Beluga, Joey Bosa, Linval Joseph, Jerry Tillery, Chris Harris Jr., Casey Hayward Jr. Those are all those there's all those players fill in a position, and those players are all very solid players, and that's not even all the good players on the Chargers. Those just name a few. All those guys except Corey Linsley, Jared Cook are great players, and or excuse me, all those players besides Jared Cook and Corey Linsley were on the team last year. So you have a very strong foundation to build off of already, and I don't have any doubt that the Chargers can build and make an even better team surrounding Justin Herbert. And Justin Herbert, really one of the more talented quarterbacks that we've seen in a while. And last year's quarterback draft class was so stacked. You really had the top three guys: Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and obviously Justin Herbert easily was the best out of those guys. Some people argue it could have been Joe Burrow, but I think it's Herbert, really. And I've never really been a fan of Justin Herbert, but I really do think that the stats he's putting up as a rookie is very impressive, and he's only going to improve. I mean, it was just his first year last year, and he's going to do even better. He's got a very strong wide receiving core: Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and I think that he's got all the tools he needs. He just needs the coaching. And hiring Brandon Staley is not the greatest move in my opinion. Brandon Staley is a great coach, and I think that'll help a lot on the defensive side of the ball. But I think you need to, if you're a young team like the Los Angeles Chargers, you need to build around your new franchise quarterback. And I think they have to look no further than Justin Herbert as their franchise quarterback. A winning Rookie of the Year and is very impressive. And it's sometimes risky to, some people think that if a quarterback doesn't perform well and go throw for 4,000 yards and being selected in the top 5 in the draft, they're considered a bust. And Herbert really silenced all the haters, and myself included, but he did very well. And I think that Brandon Staley will have some staff around him to help Herbert out. But I think that really that Brian Daboll, the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator, I thought was a match made in heaven for this Los Angeles Chargers head coaching job. Great experience, been around a while, has won national championships at the college football level, won multiple Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. He's coached the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady. So I think that it was a great fit for Brian Daboll to go, and I really thought that was going to happen, and I really was disappointed that the Chargers did not hire Brian Daboll, because he's just a great coach. He knows his stuff, great offensive coach, and with a young quarterback, he could have produced Justin Herbert to be a star quarterback. I still think Justin Herbert will be a great quarterback, but I think he'd be even better under Brian Daboll. He's a great coach, but him and Herbert together would be scary to see how well they do it, and really unfortunate that they did not hire him. But Brandon Staley, I think, going to be interesting to see what he does. I think the defense will definitely improve a lot, but we'll see how Herbert does with not having the coach that I'm guessing Herbert would want to have had Brian Daboll. He's an offensive guy, so I mean, we'll see what happens with the Chargers, especially with Justin Herbert, Brian Daboll, Brandon Staley, and we'll see. Moving on to the free agency, as I mentioned, Chargers really had a mostly quiet free agency besides losing Hunter Henry to the New England Patriots. They replaced him with Jared Cook, tight end from the New Orleans Saints. And Jared Cook in 2020, 37 receptions, 504 yards, 7 touchdowns. And I think it's a good replacement for sure, but I still think Hunter Henry's a little more. I think that he's younger than Jared Cook, and Jared Cook has a fumbling problem, a big-time fumbling problem. We've seen it, especially in that playoff game versus the Buccaneers. But I still think that he's a very talented player, and I think he'll be able to fill in the shoes of Hunter Henry very well. And obviously Corey Linsley, center from the Green Bay Packers, great protection for Justin Herbert. He needs it. The Chargers are really looking at what happened to Joe Burrow, and they don't want that to happen to their guy. And smart, in my mind, by the front office to add some protection to that line. They already have weapons. They don't need to give Justin Herbert all these gadgets like Jamar Chase for Joe Burrow. And I thought that was a really bad move in the draft. In my opinion, it's one of the worst. And I think that they'll suffer with Burrow not being able to throw the ball to Jamar Chase when he's on the run 24/7 or being sacked a lot, and hopefully he doesn't get injured again. But there's a bigger possibility of that happening, and a lesser possibility of it happening with if they had drafted Penei Sewell from Oregon. But some people will think that he needs receivers, but I don't really think so. I think that there's pretty good receivers on that team, and if they wanted to, they could go out and sign someone or trade for someone. They have the money, definitely. But drafting Jamar Chase was just not the greatest move in my opinion. Moving on to the Chargers draft class, talking about the first round, they picked Rashaan Slater, tackle out of Northwestern. As I mentioned, more protection for Justin Herbert. Great move, A+ rating for that pick. I had him going to the Chargers in my mock draft as well, so I'm glad that they did that. But I think that it's just the best investment for the team and for the future of their young quarterback. If they really like him, then they're going to protect them as much as they can, and they did a very good job of that. In round 2, a steal of a pick, picking up Sante Samuel Jr., cornerback from Florida State. 2020, Sante Samuel Jr. had 30 total tackles, 22 solo tackles, 6 pass deflections, and 3 interceptions. Sante Samuel Jr. is a very good player, and his tackles, you see 30 tackles in total, 22 solo. It shows you he can make open field tackles, and that's really what cornerbacks need. And he can cover well. He's going to be a guy that they'll be putting up on Tyreek Hill when they face the Chiefs. He's going to be a very solid player, and he can guard some big-time receivers, and that's what his job is going to be at the next level. And in his career at Florida State, he had 93 total tackles, 69 solo tackles, 29 pass deflections, and 4 interceptions. 3 years of work. That is not bad at all, and a lot of tackles, and very impressive. Just an all-around player that Asante Samuel Jr. is. The third round, picking up tight end, a guy that I really like out of Georgia. He played 3 years with Florida State and 1 year with Georgia, and that's Trey McKinney, tight end. He's a very solid player. He's a bigger guy, and it adds depth to the tight end position. That if Jared Cook, he is decently old and has a fumbling problem, if he's having a bad game, they can easily sub him out and put Trey McKinney in, and I think that he'll do very well. His college career is all 4 years. He had 46 receptions, 628 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Very impressive career for Trey McKinney, playing at multiple different schools and still getting the job done. So very impressive there. For the Chargers 2021 projection, the NFL schedule was just released, and I think that the Chargers really don't have that tough as a schedule as some might say. The Chiefs are their competition in their division. There's no doubt about that. The Raiders, but I think they can take a game from the Raiders if they play well enough. I have the Chargers going 11-6 on the year, and I think that they're going to do very well, and they could possibly sneak into the playoffs if they wanted to. And we'll see what happens with the rest of the offseason and injuries and whatnot, and it will be interesting to see how well the Chargers do 2021-2022 NFL season. That will wrap it up for today's video. If you guys have not already, please leave a like down below. Subscribe. Next week we will be talking about the Denver Broncos offseason review. Thank you.